Hello, it's Burgess Taylor, and it's Writer Wednesday. We're going to be talking about preptember. I'm actually going to talk about mind mapping and a few other things that I do in order to get prepared for NaNoWriMo, how I brainstorm for my ideas and organize them and stuff like that. I'm going to put my little writer planner over. That's the A6 Hobonichi. I'm now currently using it as my planner for writing. I have a writer bullet journal, but I don't actually do planning, not like daily kind of planning for videos or anything in that. I actually do the writing planning in it. What I try to do first is kind of do a bit of brainstorming. I write out things, what is it going to be, fiction or nonfiction? I kind of map out a few of the genres. I think it might, because usually my stuff tends to cross genres. Is it a fictional world? Is it a half real world, fictional world? My main characters, minor characters, how old are they? Where are they from? I start with the main character and then I work with the rest of the characters, antagonists and stuff like that. Is there a B story? Is there a second plot line? What's the hook? The antagonist? What is the story about? Like in a sentence or two. And then I do like a tarot pull. And then I actually do like some mind mapping. I'm still working on my mind map. I will do more stuff, but this is the start of it. I have the main character right here. One of the big things that is about it right here, I have the antagonist written right here, and I will like make little things. I have the arrows, and you can see some writing, some background information, questions to ask myself, and then I will go further, and then I will start writing the backstory, and I'll start with the main character, and then I will continue on to the antagonist. If it's a B story, like a love story, the love interest, the sidekick, I love those terms. Her entourage, maybe the antagonist, sidekick. Is there somebody who's going to betray her, a traitor, who her mentor is? And I will keep going with those characters. If it's a very minor character, say like a librarian or the guy in the hardware store or the guy at the museum, the curator, it could be any number of people. If it's somebody that I don't really need a name to, then I will just write basic information. But the other characters, I usually give a pretty good character sketch of. One of my favorite things about planning for outlining and stuff for a novel is getting this background information. Even when I was pantsing, I did this portion. That was the big part of my outline when I was pantsing, was this kind of information. I brainstormed and I mind mapped the core parts of my story, like who people were, because I'm a character-based writer. And I find that that's actually really helpful when it comes to doing stuff like that. I didn't outline anything for my novel when I was pantsing except the beginning and the end, Now I'm actually outlining, and I use tarot cards to get my outline. So I'm not at a place yet where I'm actually going to be pulling tarot cards for my outline. I'm at a place now where I'm about to start pulling tarot cards for my characters. And I have done this several different ways. But I realized that because I'm a character-based writer more than a plot-based writer, I like to have more information about the characters. I want to know who the main character is backwards and forwards. I will sometimes write journal entries about that character as if I were that character. And I'll write like a journal entry from before the hook happens, her ordinary life, and then I'll write a journal entry as if I were right there in the middle of when the hook happens. And then I'll write a journal entry for after that, like once she gets into the new world, and then a journal entry as if the book has ended and the end has happened, so that I can kind of get an idea of what that character is thinking and how that character would react and what the feelings are about everything, and that helps a lot. The only trouble I have when it comes to doing that is with the antagonist. I have a harder time. I want to get an antagonist that everybody loves to hate. You know, that's my dream, is for me to write an antagonist that everybody loves to hate. And people do those antagonists really well. Littlefinger in the Game of Thrones is a good example of the antagonist that you love to hate. He's one of the antagonists. But that I find really helpful, and I'm working towards that, is getting a main character that everybody loves to hate, and then as far as the antagonist goes, and then a main character for the protagonist that you absolutely love, but you get really frustrated with because they have to have flaws and imperfections. They have to grow as a character. So in the beginning, maybe you're not so sure about them. You know, they're really weak, or they're really flighty, or you know, there's something about them, and you're just like, oh, grow up, or you know. But then as the character develops throughout the story, you're cheering them on, you know, and you're going, yeah, and the little by little as that character grows. I haven't come up with a name yet. I originally was just calling the book The Curse. And then I had some names picked out, but I realized quite quickly that I didn't really like very many of those names. So now it's just a matter of getting to the point where I can call it something other than The Curse. So, you know, I'm sure that there are tons of books out there with that title. But I write down ideas for the titles as I go. And what happens is, in here, I will end up writing down every single bit of stuff that I have for that novel that comes to me. And then in this notebook, as I start chronicling my journey, it will have entries of wrote today, started at whatever time, and then how many words I got written, or did I get the summary done, or have I done all the character sketches and stuff like that. I am working on a lot of this. That's what my Writer's Bible is for that stuff. And it really helps having it all together. Like I've said before, I have an actual binder that contains reference information for writing. So once I get the story written and I've finished editing, I will go through and have a binder specifically for it, and then I will put down information from my book, or I'll have a binder in Scrivener. I like having the binder in Scrivener and a hardbound copy, and I'll have a copy of the original and then the edited, and as I go through edits, I'll have copies of it in a binder. I'll have a big binder, and then I'll have sections for characters, and I'll print out pictures of people that I think look like my characters with character sketches and descriptions. I also do that in the Scrivener project. But I tend to kind of just get a generic idea, and I am about to go crazy on Pinterest this evening. Once Mr. Victor is picked up, I will be doing boards for the story. I'm actually going to create a board for The Curse, and then I'm going to start putting pictures of houses and towns and characters and clothing and all different kinds of things that have to do with the book. It will work as sort of a vision board at the same time, inspiration, so that when I'm thinking about the novel and I'm not quite sure, I can kind of get started with that. Another thing that I find really helpful in the very beginning for setting up things for a novel is to make yourself a master to-do list. What do you need to do? What are those things you need to do in order to get prepared to start writing in November if you're doing NaNoWriMo? If you're not doing NaNoWriMo, it's just what do you need to do before you actually start writing the novel? Because before I start writing the novel, I used to just jump right in and start writing. I realized very quickly, though, after a couple of NaNoWriMos, that I ended up in that middle slump, that midway slump, and it would kill me every time because I knew my ending and I knew my beginning and I kind of knew the middle, but the characters would kind of go off script, and then I'd be going, well, what in the hell? You know, so I realized I needed a game plan, and I started different kinds of outlining. I bought books about different kinds of outlining. I have a ton of books over here on the shelf about different ways to outline. And what finally worked for me, I took Arwen Lynch's 30 days to finish your novel, and she now has the book, and I will leave the book linked below. And that helped tremendously. I got tarot cards, and I started using the Hero's Journey and tarot cards to outline, and I fell in love with that way because it opens the door to my imagination, and it still gives me structure at the same time, so I don't feel so boxed in by all that structure, but I'm not so imagination wild that I have no structure. Arwen has a book, and I'll also leave the link. And I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you again next Wednesday with another Writer Wednesday video. Next Wednesday will be something different about prepping for NaNoWriMo. Bye, y'all.